Good evening, peace be with you. I decided I can read my autobiography from the almost finished final without having to polish it off completely. I just feel like it's a trick to keep me from getting it all out here. I just want to get it all out to you as soon as I can. I don't know why, but I feel a sense of urgency to do this. So, carrying on here, we were talking about the throwaway society and how we were in Vietnam for tungsten, for example, was for the filaments of incandescent light bulbs, which are, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry based on planned obsolescence, as light bulbs back then, in those days, were built to last only about a month. My father hated planned obsolescence, and the light bulb industry was a flagrant example of it. So it was a real cash cow, a perpetual profit center, because everyone uses light bulbs, everyone needs them, and to replace them. And that was just one example of why we were in Vietnam. Started by a false flag event called the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which was finally admitted to by Robert McNamara, who was then the Secretary of Defense. He didn't want to go to his grave with that on his head. One amazing occurrence during my communal living was that the hair on my head grew back, full, thick, and wavy. It did not stay long, but it came back strong and then left within a year. It may have been from eating better and cleaner, or from some of those entheogenic plants that brought me closer to Allah, or from a chemical fluke in my body. I don't know. Since then, no significant amount of hair has grown on my body except some on my face, right around my chin. And you can't see them. They're like little white hairs. Anyway, when I reverted to Islam in 2009, I asked Allah for a beard, since Muslims are supposed to have beards and not cut the hair on their faces except to trim the mustache. So now I have some silvery hairs growing on my face, little wispy silvery hairs. You can't see them from up, or maybe you can, I don't know. But the semblance of a wispy little beard, enough of a miracle for me, is I have never had that much hair grown on my face ever. The alopecia's onset happened when I was just about to start shaving. In my adolescence, I never really had to. I have learned that in some so-called primitive tribes, certain children are marked by the shaman with weird hair as being reserved for God. Also, I have learned that in Islam, the men have no body hair in paradise. So what began as a very emotionally traumatic ordeal turned into a sidelight of what was becoming an exciting spiritual adventure. And besides that, bald was becoming popular. The pendulum swings back and forth, and so do the styles. Allah knows best. Chapter 6, The Blue Light Special, Going Invisible and No Mind. During my college years, I searched for and read many spiritual books during this time, among them Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, who I've seen wear a cross. He loves Jesus, peace be upon him, very much. It's a universal kind of a thing. The word yoga means union of spirit, mind, and body with the divine. So a yogi is one who practices ways to maintain that sacred union through diet, exercise, and meditation, and so forth. In his book, Yogananda describes various men considered to be holy men from India and elsewhere, not from any one particular region or religion, but who were more universal in their beliefs. There were stories about yogi masters who had students who also became masters, who had reached a level of consciousness called samadhi, the state of God consciousness achieved through meditation. In Hindu yoga, this is regarded as the final stage at which union with the divine is reached before or at death. One master is named Babaji, who is believed to be still youthful, over 2,000 years old, who lives in the Himalayas. It is written that if one says his name believing he's real, they would see a little flash of light of blue in the area of their third eye, in the center of their forehead, even in a totally dark room. So, I used to lay awake at night in the darkness of my parents' extra bedroom. I visited them on holidays, vacations from college and so forth, and say, Babaji, over and over, testing the claim, and each time experiencing a quick but definite flash of bright blue light in my third eye, in the center of my forehead, above the bridge of my nose, and it was energizing. I was sitting in my parents' living room late one night, in the recliner, with my feet up, pondering all this. As I was sitting there trying to practice the meditation that was described to me in some of those books as no mind, the stilling of the mind to just be and not have any thoughts, gazing at my raised and relaxed legs and feet until the whole view out of my eyes did not perceive any boundaries between my body, the recliner, the footrest, the floor, the furniture, the walls. My entire environment all became a pattern of light and color. And again, I wasn't under any influences. I hadn't eaten any plants or anything. It was all about it was just happening. Okay? My mother walked in from the dimly lit bedroom hallway and looked around the living room, softly calling my name, as if she did not see me, even though I was in plain sight and the lamp next to me was on. I was invisible to her. And when I stirred, coming back to the world of objects and boundaries, and lowered the recliner to upright position, she looked at me as if she had seen a ghost. Then she just said, "Go to bed and get some rest." And we never spoke about that again. But it did happen. It left a mark, albeit invisible. My mother and I both knew something amazing had happened that night, but we never spoke of it again. I wanted to, but my mother did not deal much with things that were not familiar to her, that were not in her realm, so I let it alone, but never forgot that night, still as vivid in my memory as when it happened. There have been 3 times in my life that I experienced either myself or someone else going invisible. This was the first time. The second time was when I first met Stephen Gaskin up close and personal in his bus in Tennessee, and the third time was when I met a man named Master Philip in the Holy Order in Chicago. Those 2 experiences will be described later. Recently, an old college friend, also into spiritual pursuits, who has kept in touch the last 50 years plus, said something that took me back and simultaneously brought me into the here and now, something I never forgot, but have not always held in conscious mind. That's what friends are for, to remind us who we are and what we are to be doing with these brains. And he said to me, the light is in between our thoughts. Those words stilled my mind, called immediate attention to the inner light, and peace, took my attention off the nonstop digital readout of thoughts that circles my head like that thing in Times Square. Oh, 1 second. To instead joyfully pay more attention to the illuminated space between my thoughts, most of which are unnecessary and distracting. It is one thing to leave our human computer running, and another to have it on standby. This is priceless for all who seek to still the mind in prayer and meditation and get closer to our Maker. Stay in between your thoughts. If Allah wants us to think about something, He lets us know. Chapter 7. Meeting Stephen, leaving college, and feeling a draft. And you know what? It's 8 minutes in. I'm going to let it go because my tapes have been around between 6 and 9 minutes. I'm going to stop here. And maybe I'll do another one tonight, or maybe not, maybe tomorrow. But we're going to keep it going. All right. To be continued. Peace be with you. My spiritual autobiography. Peace be with you.